I can tell this eye has slipped because it's a little bit fuzzy. Like I look in words over on it, I can still see it all right. And when it gets really real fine, it's a good.
I can't see any words right now.
I can see you. I'm talking about reading them words up there. I can read all of them, but the little ones, I can't read the little ones. My hearing's bad, my eyes are getting bad, and my shoulders are down. And it's about what I want to down here. When you go up here, they go out. Well, it's time, you know. Somebody said
That's not a word.
somebody said late. What else do you expect?
Oh, hey, I thought she had a minute. Everybody's here. I saw her today. I think somebody talked to her. I told, she said, how long? I said, about a year. I said, about a year and a half. Maybe not that long.
How many doctors? You like that about sure. Is that a problem?
Right.
They won't get good and lay down? Yes. You better get something that's different.
Sheriff's right there.
Everybody, please stand up. Our invocation tonight will be by Commissioner Taylor, and Pledge of American Flag will be by Commissioner Burton.
Most gracious Heavenly Father, we'd like to thank you for this opportunity to come together and serve our community. We'd like to ask that everything we do this evening be pleasing to your sight. We'd like to thank you for the precious gift of salvation for your Son. All these things we pray in Jesus' name.
Amen.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May be seated. Appreciate everybody coming out tonight. We've got a good crowd. Not too hot, not too cold. Maybe we can make it through in a timely manner tonight. Madam Clerk, if you call our roll, please.
Beverly Atwood, here. Mary Ann Baker, here. Tim Buckmaster,
Here.
Shane Burton,
Here.
Gary Clarity,
Here.
Coy Dickey,
Yeah.
Bill Ferguson,
Here.
Jerry Ford,
Here.
Buzz Gregory,
Here.
Landon Dully,
Here.
Richard Hart,
Here.
White Jewell,
Here.
Richard Johnson, Rachel Jones, here. David Holler,
Here.
Amber Russell, here. Lonnie Taylor,
Here.
Gary Walsh,
Here.
Steve Richard,
Here.
Ethan Bowles.
Here.
We got a full crew tonight. First item of business is to approve the minutes from the March 22nd commission meeting. They've been distributed. Are there any corrections, additions, or deletions to the minutes? If there are none, I would entertain a motion to approve. Motion by Ms. Baker, second by Mr. Dickey. Too many people waving their hands, I get tongue-tied. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. In the way of announcements, we've got several things that we'd like to remind everyone that we still have a vacancy in the 5th district. We need a commissioner. Talked to several people out in that area, and everyone has declined so far. I did bring several voter lists. Someone Monday night had asked me to bring one so they could look it over to see if there's anybody on there that they knew that they thought would make a good commissioner. So if you want to look at that after the meeting, please come up and do so. Remind you of the Tennessee Commissioners, Tennessee County Services Association Legislative Conference, and the County Commissioners meeting up in Gatlinburg on May 25th, 27th. We've received, a few of you have said you intend to go. If you are intending to go, please get that registration form. It was in your packet. Be sure and get that to Amy by the end of this week so that we can go ahead and send those registrations in. Also, once again, would like to give our condolences to Mr. Ballard for the loss of his father, and we do appreciate you being here, and so sorry for that loss in your family. We're also, on a good note, glad to see Richard Roosevelt Johnson. Who is back, and so glad. I know he's glad to be here, and we're certainly glad that you're here with us. We've missed you.
That's one thing right.
We've missed you. Go over again, our budget hearings will start next week. May 3rd, 6th, 11th, and 13th, starting each night at 6 o'clock. Some of the final figures we may not be able to have until a few of the later dates, but we can go ahead and do the departmental requests and those things and get them out of the way. That's what we'll start with. And we'll send a schedule out to you with what we're planning to do each on those days. Are there any other announcements tonight, Commissioner? Oh, yes, ma'am.
I just want to say how pretty flowers look around town. Beautification process.
Flowers in the downtown area did really come out. I had questions when they were planted if they would ever look like anything, but they did.
Really nice.
They came out really pretty. Pretty look nice too. Mr. Clare.
I just like to ask everybody to remember Chris in prayers as he goes in surgery there.
Chris is having surgery this Thursday, and certainly he'll be out of commission for at least an hour or two. And but do remember him, and got a pretty serious surgery. And some of you have asked about Martha Joe. She's doing well. She's had her surgery. She's healing up. We get to see the oncologist tomorrow to find out what we have ahead of us. So she's doing very well. And thank you so much for all the prayers and cards and thoughts and emails that we've gotten over the last few months. Any other announcements? Okay. If there's anyone here in the audience, any of the citizens that we wish to speak tonight to anything that's on our agenda, we ask that you come forward and sign in at this time, and we'll call on you at the proper time. Is it over there? Okay. Mayor Hefty there. Anyone that would like to speak to anything on the agenda tonight? If we have several people to speak, we will limit your time to 3 minutes as our rules and customs show. So if there's several people want to speak to the same agenda item, you might want to talk amongst yourselves and assign a spokesperson, so to speak. But if you plan to speak, you need to sign in. Don't be waving your hand and butting in. While they're doing that, we had a few things to add to our agenda. I do have some notaries to add at the proper time. Also, we have one appointment that the mayor's put forward to the planning commission. We'll write this down under appointments. That's Carol Pruitt, former Commissioner Carol Pruitt will be serving on the planning commission. We did have several, we had 3 budget amendments that came over from the school system that did go before budget and finance that we did add to your agenda. You should have had those in your packet. Also, a little bit of the wording on some of the descriptions on the proposed zoning ordinances were changed to make it a little clearer. You had that new wording at your desk tonight, I believe, when you sat down, for those that bothered to sit at a desk. Just minor things, just to try to make it a little bit clearer where those things, where they're at. And did anyone have any other additions or anything to add to our agenda tonight? If not, I would entertain a motion to set the agenda. Mr. Harsh?
Move to set the agenda with addition of the items you just mentioned.
Have a motion to set the agenda. Have a second by Mr. Whitaker. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? And our agenda is set. Was there anyone else that wanted to speak? Please sign in if you want to speak. Thank you. All right. First thing on our agenda tonight is our Director of Schools quarterly report. Dr. Satterfield, if you'll give us a few minutes to go over that.
Is this a good place to be?
No.
Okay. Very good.
Thank you. I'll try to keep this as short as possible. What you have is our quarterly report ending in March of this year. As always, I try to put this up in the same presentation manner as we have in previous reports. On the first page, you'll see the revenues highlighted in yellow. Basically, there's 3 major ones. The first one being current property tax. And you can see that that has brought in $1,563,000 and $8.84. This time last year, I wrote that in the margin, tried to write that in blue, where it says 2020. Last year, this time, it was $1,468,834. So over in the far right margin, where I wrote in pencil, is a net gain from last year. Current property tax at this point has brought in $174 more than it did at this time last year. The second line coming down from the top is a local option sales tax. You can read those numbers now yourself, but you can see at this point we brought in $86,000 more than we did at this time last year. Moving on to the final one, the third one is the DP, the money that we get from the state. And you can see that that has brought in $155,600 more than in the prior year, but also remember that that's tied in to teacher raises and required expenditures. So almost 95% of the time that is money in and money out. The last item there on revenue is bonds issued. That's $1,049,170. That is the money that the commission gratefully borrowed from Tennessee Municipal Bond and sent to the Board of Education for the board to pay for the construction on the middle school roof. And I know you've been by, and it really looks good. If you haven't, you take a circle of the block. But that money is money, again, like the BDP, that's money in and that's money out. So I just took that off and wrote that in red. So the actual revenue to this point in March of this year is $9,136,725, which over the right-hand margin shows that we have brought in $335,774 more than we did in the prior year. So if we return to the second page, and let me first of all say the third and fourth page is the financials from last year that I highlighted in blue and written in blue. So, but the second page is the expenditures. You can see that we have spent $303,069 more than we did at this time last year. However, we wrote in pencil is that our revenues have exceeded our expenditures by $1,199,270. But like we said, Mr. Ford might start salivating at about this time, but those numbers are misleading a little bit, is because there are some things that you need to be aware of that are outstanding, and that is we can definitely account for that figure, that 1.1 million. We definitely can account for the $335,000 increase in revenue. However, we still, at this time, had to pay the roof company $200,000. The Q-Scout loan, the annual loan for the renovation of the middle school, we'll still pay $159,000. Our summer payroll, remember that the BDP comes in over 10 months, but we have to make a payroll for 12. Those 4 payments or those 2 months will be well over $1 million. And we definitely expect that we would have some expenditure savings this year with COVID. This time last year, we didn't know what revenues and expenditures that we would have. We were able to, there were some positions that we did not fill because we were in a hybrid situation. We did not fill special ed teacher, we did not fill a bookkeeper, some cook positions, 2 or 3 of those. We did not fill a middle school library position. So we were able to save some money this year, but those positions will have to be filled next year when we go back to 5 days a week. So, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have, unless somebody has any questions.
Commissioners, anyone have questions? Outside of Ms. Fuller.
Where did you have to put the $960,000 you got from the federal government?
What did it say, 900?
$960,000 is what you told me you got.
I got $960,000 from where, Mr.
The
Fuller?
federal government.
Okay, well, those are federal funds, and they don't go into 141. 141 is the general purpose school account, and all of your federal funds would be in a 142 federal projects account.
What are they to be used for?
Well, it depends on which application you're talking about. We have like we call ESSER 1 that we started to receive in June of last year. I think that was about $280,000. And then we've got ESSER 2, and then that was about $820,000. All of ESSER 1 has been spent on COVID-related items. It's federal money, it's a tied in thing. And one of the things that we're doing with the ESSER 2, a large block of that, is we're presently taking bids on replacing all of the windows at the middle school, getting in aluminum frame windows. And then we're also replacing all the ceiling tile in those classrooms where it's leaked for all those years. So now, since we've got a new roof that doesn't leak, we're going to the next phase of replacing the windows in those ceiling tiles. Those are just some examples of allowable expenditures that are permissible in a federal application.
So your 960,000 is not even entered in. What you showing here is your,
You would not see federal money coming in on a 141 budget. But one of the things, if you're thinking out loud, is are there some things that federal money can be used for to pay for in 141? That is true. One of the things that we've done with the SO1 is a lot of disinfecting, a lot of the PPE, those types of things we have been able to pay for out of federal money, and we didn't have to hit the 141 budget as hard. That's one of the reasons why you see your revenues, that's part of the reason why you see your revenues exceed your expenditures at this point in the game. But what I'm also reminding everybody is there's a summer payroll of over $1 million yet to come. So we don't need to get excited and start spending what seems to be a windfall at this point in the year. Just a caution. Yes, ma'am.
I saw where you were going to do the stadium project. Is that money coming out of fund balance?
Yes, it is a draw against fund balance.
Thank you, Dr. Satterfield.
Thank you very much.
Mayor? I'd like to have your report, please.
I have just a few items. First one is just informational to let everyone know the entire membership of the county election commission was reappointed by the state election commission, so there was no change over there as far as the makeup of the county election commission. The governor's authority or approval to hold the online meetings or virtual meetings for any members of boards, commissions, anything like that expires, I believe, 11:59 p.m. on Wednesday, so after that date, you'll no longer be able to hold virtual meetings for participation of the board or commission members. You can still have people like Mr. Skipper who are not members of the board come in and give opinions, ask questions, but it can't be a member of that board or commission itself.
what was the date on that, Mayor?
It's gonna be April 28th, about 11:59 p.m., so technically midnight on April 29th, so we can no longer do it, but that's, the order says 11:59 p.m., April 28th, so Wednesday night. And the American Rescue Fund right now, the general services is scheduled to receive about 2.19 million in those funds, and the urban services, I've seen different amounts. One of them said 3 million, one of them said 800,000, so I don't know exactly what the correct amount is at this time. But in those funds, Amy and I have talked about it, and the best analogy I have for it is it's Brewster's Millions. They're throwing a lot of money, but it's got a lot of strings to it, and the deadline to spend it. So we're still waiting for some more guidance from the Treasury as to what we can actually spend that on. And the reason you wait for that is because there's a big carrot in there, but there's also a big stick. If you spend it on something the Treasury does not approve, you've got to pay that money back to them. So you want to make sure whatever you spend it on is a valid expenditure up front. So again, we haven't received those funds yet. I've reached out to various organizations, one of them being Mr. Skipper's Greater Natural Regional Council. There is a possibility to use some of those funds for grants for local businesses or startups or anything like that. And we don't have the staff to do it. We don't have the capability to do it. However, GNRC does have staff, and they said they would be willing to work with some kind of grant administrator or something on that. So there's a lot of different things we're looking to try to use that money for. We're just in the initial planning stages right now. That's really a short report I've got for this evening. If there's any questions on anything else that maybe somebody has or a question I've talked about, I'll be willing to answer those right now.
Any other questions?
Mr. Flaherty has a question.
Is there not going to be a meeting in Lebanon next couple of weeks, tell us how to spend that money.
There's gonna be a meeting on May 11th, how it's gonna be spent is kind of guidance up to this point. Right now, Treasury has not released any final guidance. They've released some preliminary things talking about how you gotta have a DUNS number and SAMS and how they want you to get this preliminary information up front. But as far as final guidance, we haven't received that yet. We're hoping to get more information on May 11th.
If this is just a suggestion, more or less.
Currently, right now, it's, what we received so far are not really suggestions, it's just basically making sure you have this identifying information so you can enter it into the federal system, your federal identification numbers, and then how you're going to receive the money in bank accounts and that, whatnot, right now. That's the only concrete thing we received at this point. The other thing we received is the actual language from the bill that Congress passed and President Biden signed. However, it also flips it over to Treasury and says, okay, now come up with the guidelines for it. And those we haven't received yet.
Anybody from here gonna attend that meeting?
I believe both Amy and myself are going to attend that meeting.
Don't finished up streetscape yet.
Construction is finished. Right now, we're trying to get the dollar amounts and everything cleaned up. We're working with the engineering firm on that. There was some confusion for that project out front where we repaved Main Street. If the commissioner remembers, I came almost a year ago and said the initial plan was to redo all that. However, when the money came in, the federal government was only giving us a certain amount. It was, I think, 40% less than what was initially thought. They had to scale back the project, and so repaving Main Street was taken out. The engineering firm, TDOT, and the contractor all said, if you don't pave Main Street at the same time, you're gonna have a lot of erosion issues because the water's gonna get down in the seams, it's gonna start coming apart, and it's gonna create drainage problems. Brought that to the county commission, we discussed it, we had said to go ahead and pave it, so we did go ahead and pave it. Now, that overage is on the county to pay, and that's what we discussed at the time.
Right.
So, how they calculated that, the first change order they sent us did not separate out what was ours and what was covered as part of what was already part of the project. So we had to go back and ask the engineering firm to redo the numbers. They recently sent us that number, I signed off on it today, so it's gonna be about 62,000, I believe, roughly. Now, some of that is paving of Main Street, some of that is TDOT requirement to put snowplows and markers on Main Street when we redid it. And some of that is a request that came from Tri-County. When they come down to time to almost plant the trees, Tri-County said the species of trees they're gonna plant was gonna grow up into the power lines. So they had to go back and get a new species of tree, and that can change the amount that was due a little bit. So those three things made up really the bulk of the change order. And just getting that separated out as what was really our expenditure and what was part covered under the grant, that took a little bit of time.
What I was really interested in was, are they gonna give us a rebate on the pavement? It should have come out anyway.
Not on that Main Street now, the part that was covered
Right,
under the
the
park,
part
and
we did
everything like
over-
that, that will go under the reimbursement for the grant, but what was actual Main Street itself,
Yeah.
that is an expense that we were gonna cover.
Any other questions of the mayor? Okay, thank you, Mayor. Move into our committee reports. Steering committee, met April 6th here at the courthouse. We took up the items that are basically on the agenda tonight. The no parking area, being discussed on Front Street was voted to send on to the full body of the commission. Did not think there was any appropriate committees that it needed to go to on your agenda tonight. The mayor announced the redistricting committee makeup for doing the redistricting of the voting blocks, voting lines. We did receive overall information from the census for the state of Tennessee, but not the county breakdown. They said it would be probably the end of September before we receive the actual county data. Mayor discussed strategic planning grant, the need for it, how it would be paid for. USDA is covering 15,000 of it. The Water Utility Board, since they would be included in it, is going to be covering 6,000. and the county commission or the county would, fund the remainder, which would be $20,000. There is a budget amendment tonight to that effect. The courtroom, sound system, cameras, was discussed. It has been, purchase orders been issued. The new desks have been ordered. We received 2 today. The others are supposed to come in the next week or 2. So that is moving along. That's pretty much the discussion in the steering committee. Any questions about it? Education,
Well,
I'm sorry.
you might touch on why the strategic planning is so important.
Well, I would refer that to the mayor. The thing that we're running into primarily is that any time that we go to apply for a grant, that's one thing that's required. So if we're serious about getting this grant money, we have to have this in place. Mayor, do you want to elaborate on it any more than that? Is my mic working?
Cut off.
Am I too close? Not at all?
Like it's working.
Yeah, that one, you're not using. Thank you. That better?
Can hear you now.
Okay. Mayor?
Yes, sir, the strategic plan, this is something we've been discussing since I came into office, and it's really to have a coordinated plan of what the county's goals are going forward, and just not, just doesn't get input from county commissioners, that also gets input from the public as to what they think the goals should be going forward, and also puts a timeline and assigns a responsibility to carry out these functions to each individual, if it's a department or elected official, whatnot, they would go forward. It's a very in-depth process. It's really going to be your plan. Here's what we're going to do over the next 10 years. As part of the USDA grant, $15,000 was going to cover this expense, and it now includes a capital improvement plan, which is something we've also discussed, getting in place a 5-year capital improvement plan so we know what improvements we're going to do as we go forward. So that'll be included as part of the process. And again, this is all going to be, I guess, administered or done by Greater Nashville Regional Council. The GNRC's Executive Director, Michael Skipper, is online. If he wants to address it, if he is hearing us, I'll ask if he wants to say anything at this time. Executive Director Skipper, would you like to speak on the plan, strategic plan?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the commission. It's a pleasure to be with you here this evening to answer your questions you might have about this. As the mayor and as Mr. Chairman said, the strategic plan is extremely important to all of you and local communities across Tennessee, because it's often the gateway to access the big time dollars to help invest in your community, both from a state and a federal level. You know, y'all have had some success getting grants over the years, and we've worked with you on those, but I think really to open up the tap a little bit wider, you know, this will be a very important step to go through. The benefit of working with us on this is obviously we have a pre-existing relationship with you. We staff your planning commission and BZA and have administered grants from time to time over the years. And then on the flip side of any grant award that y'all might get, you know, we'd be around to help you administer that grant if you don't have that capacity in-house. So it's really our bread and butter as an organization is to help out communities across Middle Tennessee, just be more successful with accessing grants to invest in either social services or capital infrastructure within their community. Mayor, I think you covered it pretty well in terms of the need, but I'm happy to answer any questions about the process or, you know, what we have in mind. I think this will be very much a locally driven process. You know, the first step that we will take once there is a contract, sit down and meet with each one of you individually and get a sense of what your vision is for the community and where you think the gaps are with respect to infrastructure. And then we'll design a really sort of custom fit the process from that point forward to make sure you're getting what you need.
Thank you, Mark. Any other questions? That answer your question? All right, we'll move on to the Education Committee. The Education Committee met on April 6th. We went over the update on the middle school roof project. They had finished it. I hope everyone has had a chance to go by there and take a look at it. It really improved the looks of the building as well as the weather. Now when it rains, it doesn't rain inside the building. We went over some of the state education bills that are pending. Several of those have been adopted. Some of them are still up before the legislature. Dr. Satterfield went over his financial report like he did with you tonight. And we talked a little bit about the federal and state anticipated revenues, much like we did tonight. Did I miss anything on education? Okay. Emergency services met April 13th.
Had no quorum, so have 1 minute.
I should say emergency services attempted to meet April 13th. Several of you that are on that committee, please try to make those meetings. Parks and Rec, April 15th.
Yes, we did meet on April 15th. Well, this meeting was discussing trying to get the swimming pool open for the year. At that time, the sports director said we didn't have enough applicants as lifeguard for assistant manager. But my understanding after I talked to this week, he has, I think we already don't have enough lifeguards and assistant managers. But we do have another meeting scheduled for May the 4th at 7 o'clock. We also talked about disc golf proposal. Mr. Fouts was here answering questions regarding the disc golf. The disc disciples will be donating all equipment. They will have fundraisers and stuff like that to try to raise money to do the purchase of equipment. No funding from the county. But the county will be the owner, but we're not going to have no extension. And I think that's going to be a good thing because everybody can play the disc golf, and I think that's a big thing in other counties now. I'm sort of looking forward to get that going now. We're trying to get some new poles and lighting at the Little League Park. I think Johnson Control is supposed to meet tomorrow. Is that correct?
We're supposed to meet with them 8:30 in the morning.
We try to give a surprise or some answers on that. And that was about it. Like I said, we got another meeting May the 4th at 7 o'clock. We'll go ahead and try to get everything where we get the food on.
Still needing more people to work.
Well, he said after I talked to him this week, he's got enough.
Oh, good. Good.
I think the issue last time was trying to get them trained.
Yeah, he said that was the reason he hadn't responded back to some that applied for lifeguards. He hadn't got the training schedule. They are going to try to do the training here at our firm.
Any questions, Mr. Gregory? Thank you, sir. Purchasing oversight met April 19th.
Yes, sir, we met at 5:30 before budget and finance that afternoon. We had 23 items. It was over $5,000. 10 of them were under contract. We went over the other 13 very closely. We didn't find any abnormalities. So our report to you is everything was fine with what we found.
Any questions? Okay. Next budget and finance met April 19th. We added 3 budget amendments from the school that you have on your packet on our agenda tonight. All the budget amendments were recommended to the full body by the Budget and Finance Committee. We also went over the trustees' trial balance for March and the financial summaries from all the county departments for March. And there were no concerns found, no anomalies, nothing that raised any questions on any of those. like I say, all the budget amendments were sent forward for you tonight. We set the budget hearing dates as May 3rd, May 6th, May 11th, and May 13th. We may not need May 13th. If we don't, we'll just take a break.
They're gonna
If
be
we
in
go
here.
May
They're gonna be in
3rd,
here.
May 3rd, May 6th, May 11th, May 13th, here at 6 o'clock.
In here.
Yes. Okay, any questions on that? Codes and zoning,
Yeah, so we met April 21st at 6 p.m. up here. This meeting was called to discuss the ordinances. Those ordinances we're talking about are the cluster mailbox and the two ordinances on sidewalks that have been sent to us from the planning commission. Gone straight to the commission last month and then have been sent back through steering and then through codes and zoning. Quite a bit of discussion on those pieces. I guess to really sum up where we left with is some pieces to get ahead of us to make sure we clean up first. In other words, that we look at what's coming our way with these ordinances, with maintaining and the pieces that come with it. So I'm waiting on Sam to get back with me with some conversations in the next few days before we look at another. But he's looking at some options we might have, some things going forward in the future.
any questions on that? Were there any other committee meetings that we overlooked?
I'd like to call a committee meeting for the Economic Development Committee to meet at May the 18th at 6 o'clock here.
Economic Development, May 18th at 6 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
Duly noted. Committee chairman, anyone else have pending committee you want to announce? All right. Move on into our active business under item 12A, appointments, reappointments. The only appointment we have for you tonight is a vacancy on the planning commission, and the mayor is appointing Carol Pruitt, former county commissioner Carol Pruitt, to that position. Is there any others?
Redistricting committee.
Okay. That's a resolution. Okay. I believe that's it under appointments. Have a motion to approve the appointment of Carol Pruitt.
Make a motion.
Makes a second. Mr. Harsh has Mr. Ford makes a motion. Mr. Harsh has a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. It does carry. I don't know why I'm stumbling around so much tonight, but I appreciate y'all being patient with me. Next, we'll move into resolutions. First resolution we have for our consideration tonight is 2021-11-715. This is a resolution to establish a no parking zone on Front Street in the actual street. I think the problem has been some vehicles being parked on the side of the street that are actually out in the street. We have, I think, a few people that would like to speak to that tonight. Okay. Okay. I've got one that says Front Street, one that says Main Street. Is that the same thing, Mr. Hire?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Dale Reese, he's got water sewer. Is that this issue? What issue is that?
I've been told that it needs to come in front of the county court.
It's not on our agenda. Is it an agenda item tonight? Okay. You can, we'll give you a chance to speak during the public comment time. Okay. And, Ms. Buckmaster, public comment, and have, Tom Thompson, Front Street, and, Lisa James would like to speak on the, 231 South to C1. Okay, we'll get you at that time. So right now on this item, on Front Street, we have Chantel Smith, Gordon Hire, and Tom Compton. Chantel, you signed up first. We'll let you go first. If you would just come up to the microphone, we'd like for you to say what you need to say. We'll give you 3 minutes. And
This won't take long at all.
okay, is that mic on?
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay.
We at Volunteer Pulling Hardware are very thankful for the opportunity that we have been given in opening the store at 109. We opened a little over a month ago and we have done great. For that, we are thankful. We are at this meeting tonight to discuss an issue that we have run into. We have been experiencing problems with vehicles parking in the roadway behind our building. The only other option is to load in the back. If we cannot unload from the front of the building, if we can't unload from the back of the building, we don't have a way to make anything come in our building. However, when there is vehicles parked on the front street, tractor trailers cannot back up in there. Now they have refused to even back up in there because if they hit a vehicle, they're held responsible. So we're now having to unload on Broadway trucks. And we're having to get a pallet jack over on Broadway to get it done. You cannot, with the vehicle being back there, you cannot get a truck back there. And another issue we ran into, and you think about it, emergency vehicles. If they had to get back there, fire trucks would not be able to make that turn as well. Yeah, and then we have been asked if from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. work with us Monday through Friday. That's not a problem with us. That will work fine with us. But we're also concerned about anybody else comes in back here, they'll have the same problems as us. And then again, you know, if we did 6 to 6, if there was to be a fire back there in the evening, after hours, that fire truck will not be able to get back there. There's vehicles on that road. And that's our only issue, is if we can take away people parking on that road, up against a building especially, that'll help anybody coming back there. That's the only issue we've had altogether, is just the parking.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate the comment. I forgot to say I did have a statement.
Gordon Hire, by the way, he's here, that we asked him what did he do. Back then, you could have trucks in front to do the deliveries. We can't do that. So we have to go to the back now and get it done. And Gordon Hire's here to speak as well if you want to speak. Thank you.
I was going to say, I do have a letter here from Volunteer Pulling Hardware, basically saying what she said. I do have a letter from Mr. Hire. Gordon, do you want me just to read that, or do you want to speak? Well, it's got your name signed to it. It says, I, Gordon Hire, owner of building located at 109 East Main Street, request access to the road that sits in between my building and commercial building behind me. By allowing this access, Volunteer Pulling Hardware, along with other businesses in the area, will be able to receive deliveries via truck to receive the proper stock that the store needs to run their business. Thank you, Gordon Hire. You want to add some more?
Thanks for letting me speak. You hear me all right?
Yeah.
I ran into this problem about 10 years ago. Same thing. I have a loading dock out there, big concrete loading dock that my tractor trailer trucks would back up to. It's still back up to. I'm not out of business. We loan about $65,000 twice a month to me. And the goods are already on the truck, but I have to add whatever FedEx brings. It's about between $5,000 and $7,000 that I'll throw on the back of the truck to ship to the West Indies. Didn't have any problem until I talked with, I think, Mr. Compton. Same problem that they're having. Talked to him that I would guarantee him that my tractor trailer truck would run over his vehicles if he did not move them. The ongoing movement is 6 foot. That's not much to ask for. To try to be good neighbors. In return, we got along fine. And as it should be. 6 foot's not much to ask for. That's not, as I understand, a private parking lot. It's a public parking lot. He's got 3 to 4 vehicles and he's added a riding lawnmower to that space. So you're blocking 4 to 5 spaces up through there that could be used. Not all of them are used all the time. But accidentally, I was in town the other day and they had some church convention across the street here. The thing was full. So we never know when it's going to be full and when it's not. In the past, it hasn't. Hopefully the town's coming back to life again. If you people want business like I would try to help my neighbor, you know. If not, these people can move out at any time they want to. I would really hate to see that after $50,000 worth of investment that they made over a 6 foot area. I mean, it doesn't even make sense, folks. It really doesn't. Excuse me. If it is a private parking area, and I don't mean to be smart, if it is a private parking area, I've got 9 cars that I need to put for sale, and I need to move them to that parking spot. It would get more advertisement for me instead of a private residence. So, I mean, if it's good for one, everybody needs to park. I mean, they can park there too. Sure. And you know that's not right. So this is.
Well, thank you.
Some common sense.
We appreciate your comment. And next, we have Mr. Compton.
I bid you all good evening. I didn't know anything about any of this until the paper came out, and I made the big time. And I bought my building in 1998. I have been trading Mr. Howard, Mr. Gordon's daddy. I put it here in town. I had put this out the Lincoln County line, and that was in '76. So I've been here a long time, but I lay low and I work the farm. I had a farm in Lincoln County. I had a job in Gallatin, running mail for the United States Postal Service. I was a rural carrier and I retired from that job. All the time that I've owned the building, I've been asked to move my car, which is right in front of my front door there, 3 times. 3 times, it was supposed to having kickball in the public parking lot. And the last time that I was asked to move my car was a big truck that came in to deliver Mr. Satterfield's goods. And Judge Linville was unloading it. They asked me to move it, and I moved it immediately. Now, Gordon has picked up on what the deal is here, but Gordon is complaining now about me parking in the public parking lot. And it's because no one wants to park on the street. I have no parking at 200 Broadway because the other building on Broadway is loading and unloading. And so I don't park there. And the people who own the building when I bought it from them park on Park Street. And the people before that park on Park Street. And when they go to the ball games, they park on Park Street. And the idea that there's enough parking anywhere in town is not correct. As far as my problem that seems to have popped up there lately with Mr. Stephen is that it seems to be solved as far as I'm concerned, because he's figured out that he has 4 parking spots up by his front door, and the trucks have been there easier. And I talked to the truck drivers, especially the one that they're talking about who was blocked in that day. And I don't know if he was blocked in because there was a loader in operation, and there wasn't enough room. That's what did not move the car. There's never been, I've never refused to move my car. Like if they say that I can't park on Park Street, I have no parking at all. I would not have bought my building if that had been what was going on then, and I won't be able to sell it now if you all passed a law that no one could park on Park Street.
With your time, a little over time. Have anything you want to conclude with?
Nope, I believe that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. I believe that's everyone that had signed in to speak to this. Commissioners, any of y'all have any questions on this?
Well, I heard him,
Mr. Ford, go ahead.
I heard him say that if you move that car 6 feet, then they could get to the loading dock. What's the problem with moving it 6 feet to get to the loading dock?
Are you asking Mr. Compton, you asking me?
Whoever wants to answer it. Either one of you, I'd like to know, if you can't move the car 6 feet, if that's all it would take to get to the loading dock, what's the problem with that? My question is, he said if the car was moved 6 feet, it would be out of the way of the loading dock. Can you not move the car 6 feet to where a truck can back up to the unloading dock?
I've never refused to move my car anytime anybody asks me. And I've only been asked to move my car 3 times since 1976.
That's not my
And
question.
I've been building since 1998.
My question is, can you not leave that loading dock unblocked instead of blocking and having to move your car?
I'm not blocked the loading dock that I know about. That's the first time I've heard this. I'm serious.
Mr. Howard shaking his head no.
I understand there's a lot of talking, but I can't see it and can't hear it. The fact that I'm telling you the fact, I'm looking you straight in your face and I'm telling you the God's truth. Now, if they don't want me parking in the public parking lot, I'll find some other way to do it. But to set me up like this, and then everybody bouncing on it like, I don't even know what they're talking about. I know Gordon since he was a young man, a kid.
Yeah.
And I've never had a crossword with him or Mr. Senator.
But what he's saying is if you moved the car 6 feet, then you wouldn't block.
If there's anything he wants me to do, all he's got to do is say, this is what I need, and I will be right on it.
What are y'all up there for?
I've never refused to help anyone. I keep homeless people in my home. There's been homeless people living in my building since I bought it in 1998. And I had 7 at one time here, no more than for the so-called pandemic. And I've still got 2 right now, oddly enough, both of them named Satterfield. And I asked Mr. Satterfield about that, and he moved in if they were kid. And he said, no. They've all said no, they don't claim each other, so I don't know.
Mr. Ford, I think I can answer your question. The road at the front of his building is just a couple of feet from the building. Toward the rear of the building, it widens out. You can park the car off of the roadway. When he parks his car at the front near Broadway, his car is out in the roadway. It's not just on the side of the road, it's in the road.
What I understand is, oh, they want the loading dock back there where they can get to it.
They can't get the trucks back in off of Broadway with the cars in.
Excuse me.
That's the issue, is trying to be able to back a truck in off of Broadway to back it up to that loading dock.
They don't come
Now-
in the other way.
No,
Excuse me, I asked the driver about that, and he said there was no problem backing up. I have a stepson who's a driver, he doesn't have a truck, and I'll bring his truck up Front Street, down Front Street, and turns around down there and gets out of Sharon, Leonard's driveway.
Excuse me, we have more than one truck that comes back there.
excuse me, ma'am, you're out of order, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, you had your time to speak.
You're fine.
Let's ask him questions specifically by one of the commissioners. Did that answer your question?
That answers my question.
Okay.
Look to me like this is a simple thing when two gentlemen could get together and work it out.
Well, we would have all thought so, but evidently it hasn't been, and it's why it's here.
There's one other thing. I asked the drivers about that. I measured the road, it's 27 foot wide. And Front Street has got plenty of space for any driver to back down the street. The trouble is accessing the street, he has to turn left. The best way would be to turn left and go up the other way and then back straight back. To come around the corner, it was a 50 foot. And the problem is that when the buildings were built, the boxes were on the trucks were not 53 feet long, they are now. And these guys, a good driver doesn't have any trouble backing down 8 feet. It's probably only 10 feet wide. And there's I've got a little pickup truck that I park at my front door when I have to load or unload. And that's the only time my truck is parked there. One of the ladies last week said that she went down and noticed there was only,
We understand. I had Miss Rachel next, and then Mr. Walsh.
Just one question, is it zone commercial or residential?
Commercial.
It's a commercial property.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But it's,
We established that Monday night.
is it not Joe's zone?
Pardon?
Is it not Joe's zone?
It's commercial. All of that is C1 downtown commercial. Mr. Walsh.
This resolution is about no parking, meaning none. Tonight's the first time I've ever heard anything about 6 foot. So I make a motion to disapprove this resolution.
Hold the motion.
I just had a comment. The downtown commercial one zoning does allow for a lot of the downtown, if you can live in the top.
You are allowed to
So
live in
even though
downtown commercial property.
Even though it's zone commercial, you can have a residence.
It's not out of zoning compliance with someone living there.
Right.
Okay, so thank you for that. Had one other question?
So, alright, I feel like if we say that this road can be closed down because of a business that's come into maybe not the best area, if you're gonna be looking at a building, knowing that you're gonna have trucks coming in and stuff coming in there, maybe not look at someplace that's gonna be so compact. And I feel like if we do this for this business, there may be a domino effect of it having to have road closures in other areas.
I have a motion by Mr. Walsh. Is there a second to his motion? Ms. Russell, is that a second?
Yeah.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second to disapprove this. Further discussion? Okay, seeing none?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to speak. First of all, that parking lot across the street is public parking. I don't know where the special for private came in, it's a public parking lot. Anybody can park there if they want. The 6 feet issue, whether it's at the back of the building or whatnot, and when you get up there and you're coming out of Front Street on the Broadway, and there's a truck sitting there, you gotta get in the opposite lane of traffic, and then try to turn out. That's just the way it is. As far as closing, this is not closing Front Street. This is making it no parking. If you close Front Street, we put a sign up and nobody gets on it. So this is not closing Front Street. As far as not having businesses in the commercial district, well, we're gonna spend the next year on a downtown revitalization committee trying to get businesses in the downtown area. So now if we're gonna turn around and say, well, maybe don't go there, we might as well burn it down. It'd be worth more just the land. So if that's what we're gonna do, that's kind of ridiculous, because, I mean, the Industrial Development Board just hired a consulting firm the entire first year, $35,000, just to help us get a plan to revitalize the downtown area, and it's all built around retail and residential and other areas. So if we're not gonna have commercial downtown, it's pretty much useless when you just walk away and let it collapse. So this is just to restrict parking from where Broadway is, pretty much to where Court Street is. That alley next to Sharon Limble's building, in between that and one Reggie and Mary and my older bud on, is not an alley, it's Court Street. And it is one way. You cannot turn off Main Street into that alley, because they now, part of the streets get the two big old do not enter signs. You got to enter Court Street right there next to that building from Front Street. So that parking towards the back of the building, where everybody goes to the football games, if it winds out next to the creek, is not going to be affected by this resolution. It's only from Broadway to Court Street. And it narrows up right there. That makes it hard for any trucks to get in there. I've talked to Cliff Salee. We want to move the trash cans off of Main Street because of blocking up the ADA access and put them on Front Street. Our truck cannot get through there right now comfortably with that truck sitting there at the stop sign. So that's what the issue is. It's been confused a little bit. We're talking about private parking, 6 feet and all this stuff. What the issue is, when you boil it down, is no parking from Broadway to Court Street. Now, if you want to get vote against that, that's fine. I just want to make sure you understand exactly what this resolution is and not get confused by these other things.
Ms. Watt?
My reason for the disapproval is, if we can move that vehicle 6 feet, why are we gonna restrict the whole area? This is the first time I've heard about 6 foot, so we're not gonna restrict the whole street for parking when it can be moved 6 foot? And is there not an ordinance that says you cannot park within so many feet of the stop sign, like most communities have?
Mr. Satterfield went to the sheriff's department. They asked him to see about getting a no parking resolution put down there so they can enforce it, and that's how it came to me. He came to me, I brought in Bill Scruggs at the highway department. We went down and looked at it. Mr. Scruggs agreed it's kind of tight right there, and it would be good to do a no parking in there. Again, the 6 feet, I don't know, this is the first time I heard the 6 feet. It was never part of any prior discussion. It was just that if you have a vehicle sitting up there next to that building on Front Street, it restricts one entire lane of traffic. That's where the discussions came from.
The 6 foot is one person's opinion, voice tonight.
Exactly, but that one person's opinion was brought as the proponent of this resolution.
I
You're the one that
understand.
are bringing it up.
I understand, just want to make that point. That
With the letter.
the problem is the car is parked in the lane of traffic. It's not on the side of the road, out of the lane of traffic, it's in the lane of traffic.
With the letter, he didn't know he wrote. That confuses me too.
Mr. Buckmaster?
I just wanted you to clarify succinctly. Is the vehicle parked on a public street or is it parked in a parking lot?
It is parked halfway on the street, halfway on his property.
And he parked completely off the public street.
At the rear of his property, not at the front of his property. Ms. Hathaway?
I would just like to make a motion, and I know Mr. Walsh has already made one motion, so I don't know, but.
We already have a motion on the floor.
Okay.
You never got a second.
And a
Yes, you
second.
did too.
We have a motion and a second, we're under discussion.
Chairman,
Yeah.
one last thing, if it's parked in the road, Sheriff Russell, is there something that you can enforce because it's parked in a public road? If there is, why do we need this resolution?
Mayor?
He asked a question, Sheriff.
Yeah, usually if we've got a vehicle in the roadway, we'll tag it. And move it with its own hours that we're at a time.
You want to tag it, correct?
But if it's on private property, we don't
What if it's half and half?
we've never had an issue with this problem before, the first time I heard it a week ago.
I have a question. Since all this has come to light, how many times have you not been able to get a delivery? Once Mr. Compton found out that his vehicle was blocking your deliveries, I mean, how many deliveries has it stopped you from getting since then?
We haven't stopped, but now we're unloading on Broadway.
Okay.
On a main road to get our trucks unloaded, but now they will not back up in there. And I understand their issue. If they get this truck,
right,
they're held responsible from there, and I understand. So that's our only issue. If he was in the back of his truck up just away from the court, like he said, there'll be no issue. But when he's parked there, we are even in our little vehicle are cutting it close to not him get trying to get on that street. However, you can imagine a semi truck.
Oh, I understand the semi, I get that, but I'm just, since it was brought to light that this is a problem.
Yes.
Has he not complied? Has he not been willing to move his vehicle? I mean, how much of an issue has it been? Because it's my understanding he didn't think it was an issue. And he said that he would move his vehicle whenever asked. So I'm wondering, has that not happened? Is that why we need this resolution?
Can I answer that, please?
No. Who are you asking your question?
I'm
of?
asking well, she answered the first. They've not missed any
More
deliveries.
trucks than I do, so that's why I'm letting them speak on that. What do you mean?
And so has Mr. Compton not moved his vehicle when he's been asked to do so?
He has, only for a minute, if a truck comes in the middle of the day, when he has knocked on the door, he doesn't, he had answered. So the truck has been in the road. So we had to get the truck to stay on Broadway and unload them over there.
And Broadway is a loading, did you say it's a loading and unloading on Broadway? Or no? I thought somebody said that on Broadway you could load and unload.
If it's unloading and loading, we do not have access to get over there without having to stop the traffic to get unloaded or however, because we can't, like I said, we can't do anything with the front of the entrance. And then we can't do anything with the back of the entrance. Then where do we go?
I understand, and it's just like with the taco company. I'm sorry, maybe I shouldn't call them out, but when the taco company gets deliveries, their truck is out there, and it's in the road, and people go around it, and just.
Create a problem. Either way, Mr. I'm sorry, I believe you were next.
Bottom line is, that's a commercial area, and the traffic, the road should be commercial in that area, the truckers to be in there, there should be, no parking zone, period. That's all I can say, because if you do cause the issue here, because those truckers would cause themselves to have revenue for the county, so why bother, eliminate the truck, having a hard time getting there, what I mean?
Yeah. Mr. Buckman, call for it. Okay, we will end discussion at this point and call for the question. We do have a motion to disapprove this resolution by Mr. Walsh and a second by Ms. Russell. Okay. If you vote in favor of this, you're voting to not do it. You're voting to disapprove it. So if you want to disapprove it, you're going to vote aye. If you want to approve it, you would vote no. Everyone understand we're going backwards on this? Okay? I hate to put it that way, but that's what we're doing. We're going backwards on this. Yes, Mr. Joe.
So the motion was made to disapprove, so you're saying with a no, we're approving no matter what?
No.
That's what you said.
You vote yes,
That's what you
disapprove it.
Yes, but no.
Well, I hate these kind of motions.
If you say yes, you're stopping it. If you say no, we're continuing.
The motion was to disapprove it. So if you want to disapprove it, you vote aye. Then if that does not pass, then we can entertain a motion to approve.
I'll take that.
Am I good on that? Okay. Can we do a roll call? No. Call roll.
Beverly Atwood.
She's mixed up the one.
Marianne Baker.
Yes.
Ken Buckmaster.
No.
Shane Burton.
No.
Gary Clary.
No.
Boyd Hickey.
No.
Bill Ferguson.
No.
Jerry Ford.
Yes.
Bubba Rivers.
No.
Landon Dillon.
Yes.
Richard Marsh.
No.
White Jewel.
No.
Richard Johnson.
No.
Rachel Jones.
No.
David Holler.
No.
Amber Russell.
Yes.
Lonnie Taylor.
No.
Gary Walsh.
Yes.
Steve Whitaker.
No.
Ethan Bowles.
Yeah.
5 yes. 14 no.
Motion to disapprove fails. Will of the body, is there a motion to approve the resolution? That would.
I would like to make a motion to approve the resolution with an amendment of it is to be closed Monday through Thursday from 7 to 5.
To amend the motion.
First, we would need to vote on the amendment to the motion.
That's right.
So you're wanting to amend this motion to put the time restrictions, say again.
Monday through Thursday.
You need to make a motion to amend the resolution to reflect that.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to amend the resolution that it will be a no parking zone Monday through Thursday from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. That way it does not affect football, it does not affect, and they can still just during that time.
We have
Cover
a
trash and all.
motion to amend the resolution to make the no parking time from Monday through Thursday from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Do we have a second? Mr. Clarity?
I'll second.
Do you have a motion and a second? Any discussion on the amendment? Ms. Bailey?
I'd like to ask the sheriff, the law enforcement, are they gonna have to monitor the times? Are they gonna be responsible for, so is that gonna fall back on the sheriff's department to enforce that?
Law enforcement would fall on the sheriff's.
So they're gonna have to monitor those times?
I think if they had, I would assume, Sheriff, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah, it'd have to be a sign put up.
You need a sign.
For us to be able to. Just can't pack it and not put any, it'd be somebody else can park there also. I don't know.
Ms. Ferguson?
We discussed this in committee, those thoughts about time restrictions, if that would be helpful. But I've never heard the people that were, have somewhat of the issue on both sides, that would resolve this. Now, obviously, the person who's parking there is gonna have to buy whatever you pass here. But I wanna ask the business of the lady that was there, will that resolve your issue, those time constraints?
I guess it could, I mean, I could tell people not to deliver on Friday, however, there's some, I can't guarantee what they're gonna be. I can try my best to make it not deliver on Friday, we know how that goes. But we also have a trash pickup on Fridays in the back. That's when the trash picks up, and that, in our buildings on Friday. Now, that will have to be changed up to whatever, but that's not up to us. And I will say, on Fridays after the game, people park out of the road. They are out of the way. I park back there. You can get vehicles in between vehicles. Probably not, and probably definitely not an issue at all, because there's a lot of people know you can only get in and out from that road. So they know to move their vehicles out of the way and let a car come through.
So in theory, this would be an improved, some type of a compromise that would be possibly workable for your face,
Do I have?
except for the track. I'm gonna be.
Would this help meet your needs of it being not blocked during those hours?
Yes, that should be good. We can make it work on our.
Ms. Atwood,
So then,
I'm sorry.
Mayor, how does that, can that be worked out through your track? Is that just something that's?
Right now, we're doing an audit of the solid waste committee, and one of the parts of the audit is the auditor, the consultant is gonna recommend optimal trash routes that should be run at certain hours and certain days. So right now, I can't tell you what that delivery is gonna be at this time. It being a commercial delivery, it's normally done, I believe, Mondays and Fridays. So that's what they're doing right now. I can't tell you, once we get that audit and start moving down that process, what that schedule is gonna be at that time. So at this point, all I can say is I don't know, just depending on what the audit comes back with.
That answers your question, Commissioner Atwood.
So instead of Monday through Thursday, can we do Monday through Friday?
Motion's already been made and seconded.
We would have to, this one would have to fail, and we'd have to make another motion.
No, she withdraws.
Mr. Wallace.
Two comments. So we're not gonna cater to a resident that lives there, or we'll cater to the football crowd. And part of our original argument was that emergency vehicles cannot go down that alley, or we'll allow people to park there for a football game and inhibit emergency vehicles. But all we gotta do is move this truck back 6 feet according to the original argument.
Okay. We have a motion and a second.
I'd like to make one comment. I'm driving by, I haven't stopped and looked, but I looked down that street, and I don't say you can park anywhere because they end up with a bunch of junk down the side of that building. So there ain't no place to park anywhere down through there. What I see, just a bunch of junk in the way.
Let's take a vote.
Mr. Claire, calls a question on the amendment. We have a motion duly seconded to amend the resolution to change, put time limits of Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Everybody clear what we're voting? We're voting on the amendment. Okay? Let's do it again.
Beverly Atwood,
Yes.
Mary Ann Baker,
No.
Ken Bugmaster,
No.
Shane Burton,
Yes.
Gary Clarity,
Yes.
Boyd Dickey,
Yes.
Bill Ferguson,
Yes.
Jerry Ford,
Yes.
Bubba Gregory,
Yes.
Landon Dudley,
No.
Richard Marsh,
Yes.
Dwight Jewell,
Yes.
Richard Johnson,
Yes.
Rachel Jones, yes. David Knowles,
No,
Amber Russell,
No.
Lonnie Taylor,
Yes.
Gary Walsh,
No.
Steve Whitaker. Yes. Adrian Bowles,
No.
13 yes.
So the motion is amended to add verbiage of no parking Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Do we have a motion to approve the resolution as amended? Mr. Dickey makes a motion. Ms. Jones makes a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, call the roll. This is to approve the resolution for no parking between the hours of 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Thursday. Whenever you're ready, Ms. Wood.
Beverly Atwood,
Yes.
Mary Ann Baker,
No.
Ken Bugmaster,
No.
Shane Burton,
Yes.
Gary Clarity,
Yes.
Boyd Dickey,
Yes.
Bill Ferguson,
Yes.
Jerry Ford,
Yes.
Bubba Gregory,
Yes.
Landon Dudley,
No.
Richard Marsh,
Yes.
Dwight Jewell,
Yes.
Richard Johnson,
Yes.
Rachel Jones,
Yes.
David Knowles,
no,
Amber Russell,
No.
Lonnie Taylor,
Yes.
Gary Walsh,
No.
Steve Whitaker,
Yes.
Ethan Bowles.
No.
12 times.
Motion is approved. Appreciate everyone's passion and their discussion. I think we had some good points. Next is resolution 2021-12-716. This is a resolution to establish a redistricting committee. This is required every 10 years when we get the new census data to balance our districts. The mayor has appointed this resolution, appoint Steve Paxton, Dwight Jewell, Kent Moreland, Marianne Baker, and Sam Edwards to this committee. Are there any questions about this? Mr. Fulton?
Make a motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve, second by Ms. Atwood. A motion and a second to approve resolution 2021-12-716. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is done. Next, we'll move into ordinances. Let me shuffle my paperwork here. First ordinance for your consideration tonight is 214-2105. This is an ordinance to amend the zoning maps of Travis County. This is rezoning partial 005.04, tax map 019 from C2 to R2. This is a parcel of land located on McMurray Boulevard. It's not doing the entire parcel. It is the rear part of the parcel. You have your maps in the packet. We also have the legal description that shows that it will be changed from C2 to R2. Are there questions about that? No questions. What's the will of the body?
Motion approved.
Have a motion to approve. Mr. Burton, and a second by Ms. Atwood. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is done. Next is ordinance 215-2021-06. This is a rezoning ordinance, portion of a lot on West Main. Changing the zoning from R2 to C1. This will be an extension of your downtown commercial district. This is some lots just west of the post office up here on Main, between Main and Front Street. Any questions on that? Mr. Burton?
Motion approved, sir.
Have a motion to approve, second by Mr. Gregory. Any questions? Sir?
Is there anybody trying to speak down there?
I think it's the next one.
Or Main Street.
I'm sorry. I think it's the next one. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That one is done. All right, next is, I'm gonna speak loud. This mic's died. Let me try another one. That battery. Keep running my batteries down. Have to get some solar microphones. Next one, 216-2021-07. This is partial on Highway 231. The request is to change it from A1 to C1. It is, either side of this property is on C1 currently. We do have one person signed in to speak to this, Ms. Lisa James.
Sir, I don't really have any grievances. I'm actually the owner that has made this request.
Okay.
So I just didn't want to interrupt.
Okay.
And make sure my name is on the list.
Okay.
So I have no grievances and hopefully you guys will show them in.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
If we had any specific questions for you, we would have called them.
Thank you.
Mr. Walsh.
Motion approved.
Have a motion to approve, second by Mr. Buckmaster. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is done. Next, we'll move into our budget amendments. Now, all three of these were first readings. They will be back up next month with public hearing and second reading. Budget amendments. We have several tonight, as normal for the end of the year. All of the budget amendments you see in the 101 general fund are strictly bringing money in, moving around within the budget. We can take all of the 101 fund in one motion. Mr. Walsh. Okay, have a motion to take all of these in one vote. I have a second, Mr. Dickey. Any questions? Anybody want any of them pulled? Seeing none. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, they are done. The 111 Urban Service Fund, this is a fund balance draw. We will need to vote on it. We will have a roll call on this one. This is the overages on the streetscape change orders. Hopefully, we're not going to need all of this money, but we wanted to have enough to come out of this year's budget to cover anything that comes up. Is that correct, Mayor? Do you need to add anything to that?
No, sir, that's the address, the change order I spoke of earlier in the meeting about the paving for Front Street, the trees, and then the pile of paving markers.
Have a motion by Mr. Ferguson, a second by Ms. Jones. All in, call roll. Please. Pretty please, the children will call.
Beverly Atwood. Yes. Mary Ann Baker.
Yes.
Ken Buckmaster. Shane Burton.
Yes.
Gary Clary.
Yes.
Paul Hickey.
Yes.
Bill Ferguson.
Yes.
Gary Ford.
Yes.
Bubba Gregory.
Yes.
Landon Lowe.
Yes.
Richard Mark.
Yes.
White Hill.
Yes.
Richard Johnson.
Yes.
Baker Jones.
Yes.
David Norman.
No.
Amber Russell. Lonnie Taylor.
Yes.
Gary Walsh.
Yes.
Steve Whitaker.
Yes.
Stephen Poe. And the meeting is adjourned.
They are done. Next is a budget amendment. This is 2021-111-01 FB. I'm sorry, that's one we just did. Next is the 141 school fund. No, did we just do that? No. Yeah, we did that. Okay. Next is our 141 school fund. This is the fund balance draw 2021-141-20. This is money to redo the stadium bleachers. This is fund balance draw from the school board's fund balance. This request comes from Dr. Satterfield and the school board. They're wanting to do these repairs. My understanding, and if I say anything wrong, you shoot me, they're looking at some pretty hefty price increases for metal if we don't go ahead and get this under contract to be done. They believe they have the money in their fund balance to be able to do this. Have a motion to approve by Mr. Nolan, second by Mr. Clarity. Is there any questions? Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none. Ms. Rita?
Beverly Atwood. Yes. Mary Ann Baker.
Yes.
Ken Buckmaster. Shane Burton.
Yes.
Gary Clary.
Yes.
Paul Hickey.
Yes.
Bill Ferguson.
Yes.
Gary Ford.
Yep.
Bubba Gregory.
Yes.
Landon Lowe.
Yes.
Richard Mark.
Yes.
White Hill.
No.
Richard Johnson.
Yes.
Richard Jones. Yes. David Norman.
Yes.
Amber Russell. No. Lonnie Taylor.
Yes.
Gary Walsh.
Yes.
Steve Whitaker.
Yes.
Stephen Poe.
Yes.
17 yes, 2 no.
Does pass. Next, we have some more interfund transfers. These can be done with a voice vote. We can take them all together. These are all pertaining to the school fund. Some are donations and grant funding coming in. 2021-141-18 is a grant funding from U-Trust funding. 2021-141-19 is a donation from SCORE. 2021-141-17 is moving BEP funding into teacher salaries in various categories. Is that correct, Dr. Sessions? Ms. Holmes?
Move them all into one vote.
Can we have a motion to approve them all in one vote? Second by Ms. Jones. Okay, we'll take them all in one vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, they are approved. Next, we have notaries. Have Stephen Walker Jr., a self-employed, Quentin T. Fletcher, a Fort Civic, Mike Potts, who's our property assessor, Mary Burton, office furniture, and related services. We have those four notaries for your consideration tonight. Have a motion by Ms. Jones to accept the notary, one, and a second by Ms. Baker. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay. Comes in any other business, commissioners? Okay. Public comment. There's one person signed in, Dale Reese. Two people? Okay. Yes, we have two, I'm sorry. Mr. Reese?
Yes, sir.
Tell us what you need.
My name is Dale Reese. I reside at 345 River Street, Hartsville. What I am talking to the county court about is the fact that I have 3 meters that join this property, 2 of which are for agriculture uses only. I am being charged for sewage on those 2. Now, a few years ago, I asked about this, and they was told at the water department that, well, it was just written in that way. So I dropped it. So thankfully for the water department, they started a new billing process, new paper that we get, and it really brought to light my issue. I had a leak at the barn, and that water bill went from about $30 to $65.84. Well, lo and behold, there is sewage for $65.84. So I go to the water department, and I was told there that it begins here with an ordinance to change that if the county finds that that's not a fair thing for agriculture to have to pay sewage for something that there's no sewage for. There's no line, there's no hookup. One's at the barn, one's in the middle of the pasture. And we've owned this property since 1961 with the house. One of the lines that goes to the barn goes through that property. I put it back in there a few years before my parents passed away and before I bought the house. So these 2 that I'm talking about is on parcels that were bought in the late 1970s, about 33 acres. I run horses and cattle there, and that's all it's for. I'm just petitioning the court to take a look at this, because if this is a fair or unfair that we would be charged with agriculture for sewage. One of that bill was $65.84. The other one was $31.01 this past month. So I was told, and that's the reason I'm here, that it starts with this court, the county court, to change or write an ordinance to have this changed.
Well, I don't know who gave you that information, but.
The water department.
Mayor, do you think this would be something that would go before the water board before it would come here?
Mr. Chairman, I was trying to look up the ordinance that was passed in February last year. I believe it had a provision in there saying all rules and regulations of the water utility are the responsibility of the water utility board. So this body delegated that oversight for the water utility to the water utility board, if I'm remembering that ordinance correctly.
That's my recollection. Ms. Ford, is that your recollection? Okay. I really think we need to take this to the water board first. They meet tomorrow at 5 o'clock. If you're available, be at the mayor's office at 5 o'clock. We'll sure take it up there, but I think that's the proper place to go with this. I know that there has been some discussion on this in times past. I don't remember where we wound up with it, but I know that we have had some discussion on this.
There was some discussion, but there was not a motion made or any votes taken on whether to proceed with that billing practice or not. It was discussed, but nothing came of it.
I have to say one other thing. I don't know what property owners this involves within the city limits, within what you would normally charge for sewage. There's only one of those locations that I have even a sewage available within 100 yards.
Sure.
But I was just told by the water department that an ordinance needs to be passed here, and that's the reason I brought this up.
Well, I appreciate you being here, and I'm sure we will address it at the water board tomorrow. I would appreciate it if you could be there.
Sure.
Okay, and I think that's where we'll try to take it up. If anything's needed from the body, we'll make sure that it comes to the body.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Buckmaster, you're recognized.
I'm aware that 4 months ago, a signed and notarized complaint was handed to Mr. Dudley for review by the Ethics Committee. And I was just curious that any action would take place on this.
Can you answer that?
I'm happy to answer that. There was a unsigned petition that was forwarded some time ago. It was signed petition.
No, sir. There was a signed and notarized petition complaint handed to Damon Jones in my driveway.
Mr. Bell has it. He knows what I'm talking about.
It's been forwarded to the hands of the Ethics Committee for consideration.
When will we hear?
That's up to the Ethics Committee.
So the Ethics Committee has received this.
I can go and speak a little bit there. Ethics Committee has received it. Each member of the committee has it. We are down one member now. One member that moved out of district was on that Ethics Committee and has moved out. It's upon the Ethics Committee there in this case, in their hands, whether or not it's discussed or taken further. We have been in close contact with Mr. Bellett, and each of those members knows where we stand and where, or I should say where we stand, where we're able to stand, what options we've got.
We'll have to call, I'm sure, a meeting sometime soon in order to form a vacancy.
Say that one more time?
We'll have to call a meeting sometime to form a vacancy at some point. Or at least discussion on that.
I didn't know.
My question on the vacancy, Ms. Johnson, is who we're speaking of, Commissioner Johnson. Was she holding that as a commissioner, or can she still serve on that?
No, she held that seat. She held that seat as one of the 3 commission appointments. It's made up of one member of the board of commission, that is Frida Cornwell's appointment from the agriculture board, 1 county constitutional officer, which is Sheriff Russell, and then 3 county commissioners, and this Johnson was one of the 3 county commissioners.
I know that there was some question as to whether she could continue to serve.
Yeah, I believe she's on the animal shelter board as a citizen, not as a commissioner, so she doesn't need to be replaced there. I think there was some discussion, some uncertainty about whether or not she was appointed to the beer board as a member of the commission or a citizen, but the ethics committee, it was specifically as a county commissioner.
I'd asked that question already. Okay.
So it's in the works. To answer your question best we can answer it. Okay. Mr. Walsh,
Make a motion to adjourn.
we have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Ms. Jones gets a second. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, just stay here all night.
Can I see that district? Hey, could you put that district, please?